to hate the color of your skin? Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate? You should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you?
Most of us blacks, or Negroes as he called us, really thought we were free without being aware that in our subconscious, all those chains we thought had been struck off were still there. And there were many ways where what really motivated us was our desire to be loved by the white man. Malcolm meant to lance that sense of inferiority. He knew it would be painful. He knew that people could kill you because of it, but he dared to take that risk.
He was saying something over and above that of any other leader of that day. While the other leaders were begging for entry into the house of their oppressor, he was telling you to build your own house.
You're good.
You're good. All right. Welcome. Hope you heard all that. Well, this was live from Manhattan Neighborhood Network. What I was talking about is that we seem to be going back to those days. We're doing a march at Selma to Montgomery to honor the anniversary of that first march in 1965. I think it was March 7th, and today is March 7th. Mm-hmm. And Reverend Sharpton, as you see, he's our premier host, but commentator at the network MSNBC every night at 6 o'clock, Monday through Fridays. And what we're going to talk about really is how close we're getting back to how things used to be. You know, this war on women, the Republican candidates who are trying to, what are they trying to do? Take us back to what year?
Well, it would certainly be prior to 1919 when women got the right to vote.
You know what I mean?
Susan B. Anthony. But we have to remember, and we have to study history. And reading is an exercise, just as doing push-ups and other things are exercise. If you don't study history, you will consistently be the victim and the fodder of society as time goes along. When the Founding Fathers established this country, only landowners could vote, white landowners. So there were many white people that did not even have the privilege of voting in those early days of the country. Many of the people here couldn't read or write, all right? 3/4 of the Founding Fathers, quote unquote, were attorneys. So they set up a corporation, which is called a country, but it's really a corporation. And it is of and by and for those people who set up this corporation. It took about 140 years before women got the right to vote. We didn't get the right to vote until President Johnson signed the bill, now the Voting Rights Act of 1965. President Obama made a statement last year saying that people need to take off their slippers and put on their marching boots. People were offended by it, but he was absolutely right. You have 30 states in the union now that have implemented photo ID in order for you to vote. That disenfranchises a lot of poor people, a lot of people who are in areas that don't have transportation to get to and fro elderly women. We saw the 93-year-old woman in Kentucky who was told she couldn't vote because she didn't have photo ID, and she was voting before these people were even born. So the Republican Party has shown itself, and we have to remember, a group of people that has no respect for their women isn't going to have respect for you.
That's right.
The same Republican Party which didn't have a problem with the allegations of Herman Cain groping a white woman in his car, if they don't have any respect for their women, if they will not support them in any way, you really got to look at that. The issue with the young lady who spoke at the Senate hearings last week with this incident with Rush Limbaugh, the move and the push against contraception, all of these things, not just strike at women, they strike at people in general.
Well, Obama came up with the right course of action. I think any of us that have daughters speak right up and see that that's an assault on everybody. How Rush Limbaugh got away with it and how these Republican nominees have nothing to say is beyond me. I mean, this is really an assault on humankind. I mean, we all have come from a woman. We all have mummies. Matter of fact, I always say God's a woman, you know?
That too.
So it's assault on we're talking about assault on religion. And this is all, it's par for the course. I can't understand how they can get away with it. How Rush Limbaugh can get away with calling a decent human being a slut and a prostitute, and none of the candidates have anything to say about it? They hide behind what? I mean, this is insanity. If people can't see through this, this has got to be a joke.
Well, you know, 4 years ago when Obama ran, I had said that he had raised the bar so high now for a presidential candidate. But you look at what's going on now, there is no bar. There is no bar whatsoever.
And they think that somebody like this can beat Obama, or what are they thinking? I mean, this is giving us a classic example what people with money are like. I mean, it's really eye-opener to everybody alive to see what you do when you're in this shell, this cocoon. You've reached a plateau and nobody counts except people in your category. It's not human.
Well, you know, one thing we have to also remember is that the Republicans have always banked on the apathy of the Democratic Party. And David Dinkins lost because of the apathy of the people of the city of New York. Mike Bloomberg got a second and third term because of the apathy of and I should say, of the poorer people of the city of New York. So in this upcoming election, people have to be very much aware of the fact that they do have to vote. You see, because if you don't vote, if you think you're catching hell now, you're going to get a real dose of hell if you don't vote. And that voter apathy and looking at the march, the memorial march that's going on now on the Pettus Bridge, you know, people today are not making the connection because they're not looking at history. They're going through hell because they failed to look at the hell that their forefathers went through so that they wouldn't have to go through the hell, you see. And a lot of people today don't even know about the Pettus Bridge.
Well, you know what we're going to do? Just before we bring Professor Ngemi in, I want to go to the Congo. But before that, what we're going to do, we're going to run a little piece that we have on YouTube. It's on the computer. Hopefully we can get somebody to set that up. Rich, are you close by? Well, anybody available? Well, if you can run that piece on the computer. Anybody in the back? Rich here? Well, it's about it was actual footage of the crossing of the bridge, what's going on today. Give us a minute and we'll.
President Johnson addresses a joint session of Congress to push a voting rights bill aimed at ending discrimination. would appoint federal voting registrars in some instances and put an end to complicated literacy tests and other hampering tactics. The president referred to the events in Selma as an American tragedy. And throughout the nation, even in Canada, there were marches through the streets of towns and cities. In New York's Harlem, more than 15,000, half of them white, filed somberly through the streets in quiet but agonized protest. The events in Selma had been brought to a climax by a nighttime attack on a white Boston minister by white men. He died 2 days later, many feeling he suffered martyrdom in the cause of civil rights and voting discrimination. The next day, 4 men were held for his murder. For the Reverend James J. Reeb, the demonstrators write his epitaph with this tribute. Selma sprang overnight from an obscure southern town to the front pages of world newspapers. This church was headquarters in the Negro drive for the right to vote, and it was here that Martin Luther King came to lend his support to the campaign. He pointed out that from Selma's 14,000 Negroes, only a few more than 300 had been registered at the polls. When one group set out to march to the Capitol at Montgomery, the procession was broken up violently by state troopers and sheriff's deputies. Then Dr. King led another contingent through the town. This time there is no violence. The 1,000 Negroes and 400 white ministers and civil rights workers reach the end of the bridge where the cordon of troopers stand. They are ordered to turn back. Dr. King confers with the police as the marchers hold their ground. He requests that they be allowed to pray. There are a few minutes of mounting tension. Request to pray is granted, and they kneel in the streets. Informants say that Dr. King turned his marchers at the behest of the White House, an arrangement that had been made in advance to avoid a confrontation that could only end in bloodshed. The troops and deputies stand stolidly by as the prayers are said and the marchers go back to Selma. This Alabama town will go down in the history books as a turning point in the civil rights drive. From the halls of Congress to the smallest crossroads hamlet, people can understand the plea that no American can have freedom and justice unless there is freedom and justice for all. In Selma, there is a lesson to be learned. President Johnson sends to Congress a bill to reinforce the right to vote. With Attorney General Nicholas Katzenbach, the president signs an accompanying letter to the legislators urging swift passage for the bill that would outlaw discriminatory practices. Then the Attorney General briefs the press on the salient features of the bill. It would give his office the power to appoint federal registrars in 6 southern states where literacy and other voter qualification tests are required. The bill's aim is to bring to fruition the goal of minority groups that have staged protests throughout the nation. This is a demonstration in Montgomery, Alabama, led by Dr. Martin Luther King. In contrast to the violence of many marches, this one is held peacefully with police blessing and under permit. The day before, the marchers had been dispersed by state troopers and sheriff's deputies when they marched without a permit. Today, troopers and deputies are absent. Only city police line the route of march. The parade passes through the heart of Montgomery, past the state capitol, to the county courthouse a mile from the starting point. The only sign of disorder was the blowing of horns by impatient motorists. Not a club was raised in anger. The throng later hears Dr. King summarize a meeting he had with the county sheriff. He said that they were near agreement on future demonstrations, and he saw peace in Montgomery. The long-anticipated Freedom March from Selma to Alabama's capital of Montgomery finally gets underway as Dr. Martin Luther King addresses the crowd at the starting point. Twice before, the marchers had been turned back by state troopers. Now they march under a federal court order and with the protection of federalized National Guard units and regular troops, a total of nearly 3,000 men. For the first day, there are 3,200 marchers in line. Half of the four-lane Highway 80 is closed to traffic. Later, where it becomes 2 lanes, the marchers had been ordered by the court to reduce their number to 300, a measure designed for their safety.
All right? You all right back there?
Keep talking.
All right. But this is what happens. You know, the modern day media is always, sanitizing stuff. But we want to go back to Ngemi and the women and the struggle with women. And we had a roll in here about the Congo. And perhaps we can go to that before we come back to Ngemi. All right? And this is a roll in we've seen several times. And but if you have time, can you roll that? And then we'll come up on Professor Ngemi and talk about the Congo. All right? A lot of roll-ins today.
Head to the soles of your feet. Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate? You should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you?
Most of us blacks, or Negroes as he called us, really thought we were free without being aware that in our subconscious, all those chains we thought had been struck off were still there. And there were many ways where what really motivated us was our desire to be loved by the white man. Malcolm meant to lance that sense of inferiority. He knew it would be painful. He knew that people could...
Welcome back. We're all trying hard to do too many things at once. But welcome back. And let's talk to Professor Ngemi and about the march tomorrow. And what, you plan to attend the march tomorrow?
Well, actually I was rushing here to hopefully meet the lady who is a co-founder of the organization that is putting the march tomorrow, because I really do not know much about that organization, so I was hoping she'll be here so that I could, we could dialogue as to what the march is about. I know that a lot of Congolese are going to be there tomorrow to march, because from what we hear, supposedly, that the organization is about, deals with Congolese women.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so but what happened is that I sent both of you an email about...
I never got it.
Did you get it? You didn't?
No.
You missed it.
You sent, not in my Gmail.
Yes, I sent both of you an email that came from one of the Congolese who we worked together, who was talking about the questions that he was asking about the organization. Because what they did, they found out that in the board of directors of this organization, there's not one Congolese woman on that board of directors.
Oh, really?
Not one. There is a woman who is a Rwandan woman. Okay, so but so we do not know how can an organization that is organizing a march about the suffering of Congolese women have no Congolese women on it. That's the first question that I want to ask the lady. And the second question was, if they representing Congolese women, how come they are based in Rwanda? That's the second question I want to ask. How come they are based in Rwanda? Because every group that does work for the Congolese women who are being killed, gang raped, mutilated in the Congo goes to the Congo. There are no Congolese women in Rwanda. who live there.
There's a film they did last year, which I haven't seen, but, I was setting it up for next week.
Okay.
All right, so we'll do that next week.
But that's going to be after the march tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I was hoping, because when you called me, you told me she'll be here today.
I forgot to call you and cancel.
So
I reached out to you last night, and I don't think I didn't talk to you.
Right. No, we didn't talk last night.
Meanwhile, I was trying to rearrange something for today.
Yes. So for the Congolese people here in New York City that became aware of the march, you know, we were, because we haven't heard about this group. And when we heard about it, some of the Congolese started doing research about the group. And the group claims to do work for Congolese women who are being raped and mutilated and killed. And now the thing about it is this, simply that, you know, you cannot raise money, speak about people who are being killed when you are not working with them and don't even have them in your group, and you're not doing the work where people are dying. Congolese women are being gang raped and killed in the Congo, not in Rwanda. There are no Congolese women in Rwanda, first of all.
Well, that's one reason why the two of you have to get together.
That's why I would have loved for her to be here. I was going to ask her, you know, a couple of questions so she can maybe clarify it for the audience to understand how is she doing work for the Congolese women when she works out of Rwanda.
Well, we'll have time between now and next Wednesday to answer all those questions.
Okay.
Make sure that the two of you, when you come on,
I'm sure she's watching the show. I'm sure she's watching the show. So,
well, she was too busy to come on because of the march tomorrow.
I understand.
And I reached out to you, and I don't think I left a message on your machine.
Yes, I understand that. But the thing is that, because a lot of people are going to be there tomorrow.
Okay.
Marching for Congolese women. I just want them to understand that this organization has not one Congolese woman on their...
Well, we're going to change that,
in their group.
Well, you know, I don't know if it's so much about changing it. The question is, who are these people really, and who is backing them?
Okay.
Right.
You know, and where is this money going?
Exactly.
You know, the Red Cross collects money for all kinds of things, but it never gets to the people it's supposed to help.
That's right.
So it'd be interesting to know if Kabila is behind this thing himself.
Actually, Kabila, not Kagame. You got to talk about Kagame, the president of Rwanda. That's right. Now, here's the other interesting point that I found out. The name of the group is What Better Looks Like.
Right.
What Better Looks Like.
Right.
And they are operating out of Rwanda. Now, analyze that name. What better looks like, meaning what? That what is happening in Rwanda now is better, therefore, because they're helping the Congolese women in the Congo, but they're helping them in Rwanda.
It has nothing to do with the Congo. It's a group.
Exactly.
She's been on the show.
Exactly. I didn't see that. So that's what I'm saying. The point is, she's saying that she's talking about using Congolese women who are being gang raped, victimized, and so on and so forth. She's not talking about Rwandan women. But the group is in Rwanda, so they're helping Rwandan women in Rwanda to say what better looks like in Rwanda. Well, fine, but what about the Congolese women who are being killed every day in the Congo?
I'm sorry she's not here. She'd be able to answer all those questions.
Exactly, and the thing about it is this, that Paul Kagame, as you know, in a mapping report that came out on October 1st, Paul Kagame, the president of Rwanda, was called a genocidaire. He committed genocide in the Congo. So that means that if you're doing work in Rwanda right now, Paul Kagame is president. You're doing the work in a country that the president has been called a committed genocide according to the United Nations. That's number one. Number two, there's the genocide that happened in 1994 in Rwanda, right? Now you have people that used to work with Paul Kagame, including also the French government that indicted people that were close to Paul Kagame, the president of Rwanda, that Paul Kagame was responsible for the assassination of Habyarimana, which triggered the genocide in Rwanda.
Yes.
So the president of Rwanda right now is the one that killed the president of his country so that war can take place in Rwanda so he can come in and take over power. So that has been now public information, both at the United Nations and in European courts. right, that Paul Kagame, the president of Rwanda today, is responsible for the incident that triggered the genocide in Rwanda.
Mm-hmm. Has an application been made at The Hague in the World Court to have him arrested? Following the situation in Kosovo,
right.
We've had subsequent arrests.
Right.
Is there a move out of The Hague to have him arrested?
No, because remember that Paul Kagame was being sponsored and defended by Bill Clinton, by the United Nations, because the United Nations use troops from Rwanda and Uganda in their missions in Africa. But the Spanish court has indicted Paul Kagame and some of his close associates to the point where they had a mandate, I think, to try to arrest him. The only thing why Paul Kagame cannot be arrested like in Europe, because he's a sitting president, from what I understand. But the thing about it is that because the genocide allegations are at the United Nations, the Security Council has to decide to act on that. Once it is proven that Paul Kagame committed genocide, as the investigators found out, now then he loses the immunity as a president.
Okay.
Okay. However,
and that's Obama's law 15?
No, Obama's law is for the Congo. But this one is for genocide, because the genocide in 1945, the United Nations decided that wherever genocide takes place, whether you are a leader or not, if it is proven that you committed genocide, you lose your immunity, they can arrest you.
Okay.
Right. But because America, France, England, and Great Britain, Germany, all these countries were supporting Paul Kagame, defending him. Therefore, none of them want to act on these charges that are still at the United Nations that he committed genocide. You see? So that's why when anybody is working out of Rwanda today, you are working out of a country whose president has been accused of genocide. It's just like you working for Hitler in the 1940s. When Hitler was being persecuted, has been accused of committing the Holocaust, and you're working with Germany, Nazi Germany, therefore you are part of what? Supporting the Nazis.
Sounds like
Before
Mr. Bush.
we find out the answers, we don't know the answers yet to all your questions.
Right.
Where does Kabila fill in?
Joseph Kabila, who is
president of the Congo,
by the way, who lost the election, but he's staying in power by killing Congolese people, being imposed on the Congolese right now.
Who won the election?
Tshisekedi, who is also in the Congo and who has said, I am the president.
So what's happened to him?
Well,
he's under house arrest.
He's under house arrest. That's right.
Okay.
Unless just a week back, because the European Union wanted him to go and meet with them at the German embassy in Kinshasa, then the house arrest was relaxed so he can get out, go to meet with them at the German embassy. After that, come back to house. So these soldiers surround his house, so he's back again under house arrest. In other words, whatever the Europeans decide to say to do in the Congo, that's what is happening. That's right. So that because they do not want this person who lost the election to go, so Tshisekedi is there, he cannot take over power because Joseph Kabila, whose real name is Hippolyte Kanambe, remember he's Rwandan, he's not Congolese. Right. So he is killing the Congolese. And no European, not the United States, nobody's saying anything to expose this guy. In the meantime, we are going to Syria. We're talking about Syria every day. And Syria has not killed 1/10 of the number of people that Joseph Kabila, so-called Joseph Kabila, has killed in Kinshasa. And yet not one main media is talking about the people that so-called Joseph Kabila has been killing, or whose real name is Hippolyte Kanambe. So that's why you see these marches when they're happening. We have as a people, or as people who are looking for justice, you have to ask the questions. Those I wanted to ask this lady if she was here today. Who you working for? Are you working for Paul Kagame? Are you ignorant of what's happening there? That's the other question.
No, from what I've gotten from her, and even the time she's spent on the show,
right.
You have to understand that there are several people from National Action Network that are involved with this movement. Of course, Victoria, part of the youth movement, is speaking at the fair tomorrow.
Exactly.
So,
or you have to be careful of how you're used and where you're used.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
And
That's why you got to ask questions.
She's a
well,
child.
what you're saying is well taken. And
what I'm
it can
saying,
be helpful if we can get all this together for next week's show.
And actually, I hope the sister want to speak there tomorrow, does a lot of bit of research. As Brother Graham just said, you got to see whether you're being used and how you are being used.
That's exactly why you're coming on the show with her, because you can give all the information that we need to make sure we get this right.
But they're going to be after the fact.
That's after the fact.
Always.
They march tomorrow. So somebody's going to be used without them knowing what they're doing.
We're going to make sure the right thing happens.
No, you got a phone number.
Okay.
I have everything in order.
Yeah, okay, because I'm saying that because of this, because that sometimes somebody can drag you into something, right, and use you unbeknownst to you that they are working for something that you don't stand for. You follow me? Because see, when they use the word of Congolese women who are being gang raped, now, everybody, their heart melts down, they want to participate.
Of course.
But the organization is not working for the Congolese women. The organization is working for Rwandan women in Rwanda, not in the Congo. And in Rwanda, no Congolese women are being gang raped or mutilated. In fact, it's Rwandan soldiers.
You've said that.
Watch this. It's Rwandan soldiers who are in the Congo gang raped and killing and mutilating Congolese women, Rwandan soldiers,
dressed in
dressed as Congolese uniforms. You follow me? Right. So that's why any American woman or man who is going to be used by this organization should do a little bit of research. They can watch the short movie you showed here, Crisis in the Congo, Uncovering the Truth. They can watch that so they can see what role Rwanda is playing in the mutilation and the killing of the Congolese women.
The show that I had her on, you couldn't make that one.
Okay, so they're 1-1.
Yeah, so you two have missed each other both times. So I think half of your questions can be easily answered. I think you've taken the wrong road in thinking she's working for the Rwandans.
No, I'm asking questions.
I'm hopefully.
I'm not taking it. I'm asking questions.
I've made the wrong match. I'll stand corrected.
But
I'm
she
sure
is
that
Rwandan.
The two of you.
No, there's a lady's European, I think, American white,
she's
right?
American.
White American woman.
See, because in Forbes magazine about 3 or 4 months ago, there was an article on how the Congo was progressing. And it had pictures of Kabila.
Yeah, Joseph Kabila. Yeah.
Bill Clinton together.
And Paul Kagame.
And Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
And talking about how the economy is coming up and business is coming into the Congo. When in fact, paved roads don't even exist
that's right.
in the capital city. Or out, and definitely not outside the capital city.
Not one highway throughout the country.
The conditions are so deplorable, but they're talking about what great investments are coming into the Congo. Yeah. And this was Forbes magazine, okay? Forbes. So if misinformation is being disseminated by Forbes magazine, whether it's Time magazine or whatever, not that many people are even covering the Congo.
Right. No, nobody's covering the Congo.
But to put that out in a business magazine, understand, they put it in a business magazine so people will look to invest in the Congo.
That's right.
Enhancing his control over the Congo.
That's right. That's right.
Over and against the Congolese people.
That's right. And think about economics, right? Think about economics. Why is it that millions have been killed in the Congo? Not one of these magazines has put any pictures of any one person murdered, killed in the Congo through that genocide. Not one, right? We saw pictures of so-called people that died in Tunisia, in Egypt, in Syria. We haven't seen one picture. And yet this Holocaust has been going on since 1998. That's number one. Think economics.
All right.
Okay. Why is it that the Congolese people had elections on November 28, this past 2011, democratic elections where the Congolese people stood up and fought off the government who were trying to stuff the ballots with the so-called President Joseph Kabila. At the end of the election day, on the 28th of November, everybody knew that so-called Joseph Kabila had lost the elections, including himself. Not one main magazine in America spoke about it. At the end of the voting day, because the guy lost. So-called Joseph Kabila lost the elections.
They have a stake. Right?
Etienne Tshisekedi won the elections because the people stood up.
Let's mention how much money's involved in all this. I understand to the tune of $24 trillion.
That's the estimate.
Wealth of this nation is $24 trillion.
That could pay off the U.S. debt twice.
That's right.
Twice.
Yeah.
That country is worth more than the United States of America.
That's right.
And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because I have something as a material interest in this, because Professor Ngemi and I started off this 10 years ago, 2001, with our pastor, Reverend Grant. And I can't see why, if we can have a black president in America, why we can't have a black corporate structure and coalition with the Congolese and utilize that wealth to develop our homeland.
Go back.
All right? So that's what I'm up to.
Let's go back to 1958, 57. Patrice Lumumba, 59. Elected president
59, 60.
of the Congo. You had Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana. And those two men talked about unifying the continent of Africa.
Amen.
All right? Patrice Lumumba was murdered. Nkrumah was murdered. Let's look at the people that had control over the Congo. Let's look at the Belgians. What they extracted from the Congo in the time that they were there. King Leopold and
go back to the Berlin Conference of 1885. How they cut up
Africa. So
where it started.
You've got to remember that freedom didn't make Africans free. That was in jest. That was in word. Many of the West Indian islands are still talking about the Queen. You know, they still think they're British. The brainwashing that goes on, it's phenomenal. He who can think better is going to rule. He who can think better is going to rule. He who rules the head rules the body. So when you look at the wealth of the Congo, any black person over there, in many of the African countries, they're figureheads. They're not really running the country.
And it's even worse in the Congo because the Congo is occupied, is under occupation,
by a foreign country, which is being directed.
That's right.
By Europeans and the United States.
Exactly, because Joseph Kabila is a Rwandan, a Tutsi, Rwandan from Rwanda. So in other words, he's running a country by force, whereas Rwanda and Uganda are occupying Eastern Congo, where they extracted all these resources. In fact, the State Department, U.S. State Department, had said that the two provinces of the Congo, the Kivus, are part of Rwanda.
Tell me this.
Can you believe that?
What makes us think that we can do anything about this?
Well, us three
sitting here talking about this. How do we really I mean, we've got all these problems trying to get a black president reelected. With all these,
because
with the Klan and the Congress.
Because now, every change begins with words.
Okay.
Every change begins with exposing the truth.
Okay.
Every change begins with bringing the truth out.
Okay.
For instance, the question I asked about the lady putting the march together tomorrow. A lot of people don't know that. Because people just believe that she said, okay, we're working for the Congolese women who are gang raped and mutilated and killed. Everybody takes that for granted. But because the three of us are talking about it, now people who hear us are going to ask questions. Wait a minute. Okay, if you're working for Congolese women, what are you doing about that? Have you been to the
you take it back to that. I take it back to Republicans not willing to stand up for women who are being...
but okay, but hold on, brother.
I'm saying the problem's here. Everybody's focused. How do we stay focused over there if we can't solve the problems here?
Because we went to Iraq, we didn't finish solving the problems here. We went to Afghanistan, we didn't finish solving the problems here. We are right now in...
they're trying to get us to go to Iran.
And we have not finished fixing the problems here because it's not about finishing the problems here, about our involvement. How are we benefiting from the genocide in the Congo? You would not have a cell phone here if it wasn't for the Congo. You wouldn't have a gadget here, an MP3 or an iPhone, if it's not for the Congo. You wouldn't. A plane would not fly in America without the cobalt coming out of the Congo, the copper. You would not have an atomic bomb here if it wasn't for uranium coming from the Congo. So we don't need to finish fixing problems here for us to be involved in the Congo. We're talking about Syria every day. So there shouldn't be any problem talking about the Congo.
How do
we talk about Syria. Syria has not killed many of its people more than this occupying force of Rwandans, Joseph Kabila, so-called Joseph Kabila Rwandan, Paul Kagame Rwandan. They're killing Congolese every day. We should talk about it, at least because their people had elections. They voted for somebody who wants to implement democracy, a guy who has been a non-violent believer for 30 years.
Right.
And guess what? Nobody's talking about that because they want this Rwandan guy, Joseph Kabila, to be in power so they can continue to steal the resources of the Congo while women, little children, are being gang raped and mutilated.
I have a lawyer that represented Kinshasa. Perhaps we can do something through that. And another organization here. No, we're going to work this out. I'm bringing these questions out.
No, it's a good question, because so people know, right?
So people, I've given you my intentions on why I'm doing all this. Because I can't see why we can't form some sort of corporate structure and take advantage, not advantage, but fight for the civil rights of the Congolese.
That's right.
The march is where and when?
The Brooklyn Bridge tomorrow.
At
I think it's
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. And then they're going to have a meeting in front of City Hall.
City Hall.
At 1.
Right.
With speakers.
Are they going to be on the Manhattan side or the
They're going to start from Brooklyn side
to
walk across. So 10 o'clock tomorrow. And hopefully people can begin to ask these questions. We spoke with some of the Congolese women who are going to be also marching tomorrow who did not know anything about it. Nobody ever contacted them. And the group...
it's because the two of you haven't gotten together yet.
Yeah, but guess what? How can they claim to be working for Congolese women when they don't even have one Congolese woman on a group?
We're going to find out. It's time that they do if they don't.
Well, it's
all right.
kind of.
Well, that's why we're talking about it.
Right. But I think your question was very important because sometimes people say, America is involved, got so much what's happening here, the price of oil going up and doing this and
but yet every day what's going on over there?
Every day the State Department is talking about Syria, NBC, all of them talking about Syria every day. But yet in the Congo where millions have died, where there was an election where the incumbent person, the dictator, lost the election, they're not saying that.
Bring out the reason why.
The reason why is that...
black on black.
No, the reason is not black on black. The reason about money.
Oh, and money.
Economics.
I'm saying the people are dying, the people that are killing.
Oh, yes, because the people dying are black. Let's put it that way.
The people
dying are black, so therefore we don't need to talk about it.
Not at all.
And you got black people killing black people.
Black people killing black people.
No attention.
And the black people's dying is not that important. Because I've said that.
Give me the total of people that's been killed, if somebody hasn't heard.
Yeah, over 9 million.
Okay.
Over 9 million people have died since 1998. And by the way, remember this, that if 2 of the women that have been gang raped in the Congo were white, right, the whole world would have been up in arms.
Maybe
America and Europe,
not
they would
the
have.
Whole world.
Huh?
Maybe not the whole world.
The United Nations Security Council would have been called into meeting, believe me. Believe me, if the pictures that we have of the women are being gang raped and then chopped off, and then their genitals cut off and thrown down, if that was a white woman, believe me, the Security Council would have been meeting. Hillary Clinton would have been up in arms that she's a woman and these are women being dealt like this, and then she's going to do something about it.
What does Hillary have to say about all this?
Well, those dying are black women.
Who's her husband?
Hillary,
who's her husband? You got to remember when the war was going on in Rwanda, Bill Clinton said he wasn't sending U.S. troops to die in Africa. He said that.
No, actually, Bill Clinton removed the United Nations forces that were there, took them out so that the killing can take place.
We don't acknowledge our covert acts.
Bill Clinton, no, it was not covert. This was overt. There were United Nations forces in Rwanda, right, in 1994. Now, Bill Clinton told them to leave because Paul Kagame and the army of Uganda were coming in Rwanda to start the war so that they can, quote unquote, liberate Rwanda and then claim to be liberators that they stopped the genocide. So they had to remove the United Nations forces that were in Rwanda that could have prevented this from happening.
Was he tricked into doing this?
No. He was working with Paul Kagame. They want the United Nations, the U.S. wanted to have now a control over what's happening in that area, especially the minerals of the Congo, because Rwanda was like a stepping stone for them to move into the Congo.
Mention the minerals that are in the Congo.
In the Congo? You name it.
Everything.
Including rare minerals that you don't find anywhere else in the world.
Rare earth minerals.
Right?
Rare earth elements.
Everything is there. But for now, the coltan is 80% of it is in the Congo. That's why
80% of the world's
world reserves. That's right. You holding a cell phone, you holding an MP3, you holding a laptop, you are holding the blood of the Congolese men and women in your hands. That's how serious it is. So that's why, people have to understand that what is happening, why is it so quiet in the Congo? People not talking about it. Now, you know what happened after the elections? I think I sent your pictures. When so-called Joseph Kabila lost the elections, he got 4,000 mercenaries from South Africa. He got 4,000 mercenaries from Uganda. He got mercenaries from Tanzania and from Rwanda because the Congolese soldiers didn't want to keep killing their own people. He gave these soldiers from outside Congolese uniforms.
The Congolese soldiers didn't want to keep killing their people?
That's right, for the sake of the Rwandans. So they refused. So he got mercenaries from outside. A South Africa president, Zuma, gave him 4,000.
What year was this?
November.
2000, December 2011.
The Rwandans were dressed up as Congolese.
That has been going on in the East, but we're talking about after the elections in November.
Oh, after the elections?
That's right. After the elections, because the Congolese people voted him out.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, voted him out.
So where's the Congolese army coming from?
The Congolese army have no weapons.
Okay. Right.
He has disarmed them.
Right.
And then, but because after the election, the Congolese soldiers didn't want to keep on killing. Why should we kill them? They had elections. So President Zuma of South Africa, who has been given mining interests in the Congo, gave so-called Joseph Kabila 4,000 mercenaries. These are outlaw soldiers who were in prison, South African. So he gave it to them. He's been paying them $3,000 a day. All right? For them to kill the Congolese now to work for him. The president of Uganda gave him 4,000 soldiers, mercenaries. So he gave them Congolese uniforms. I have pictures of these soldiers shooting point blank at Congolese people on the streets, young people. And I have pictures them loading bodies of Congolese young men into planes to go and drop them, the bodies, in the Congo River. All these Europeans have these pictures.
Well, you know, right at the heat of the conversation, we have to close out, and I want you to roll in the beginning of the roll-in, and we'll go out that way, but we'll be back to you with the same topic next week. And we'll have the lady on here. We'll have much more footage of the march tomorrow, and maybe even something about the Selma to Alabama, Selma to Montgomery. All right? Thank you for coming, and the God in me loves the God in you. And stay tuned.
Who taught you to hate the color of your skin? Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate? You should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you?
Most of us blacks, or Negroes as he called us, really thought we were free without being aware that in our subconscious, all those chains we thought had been struck off were still there. And there were many ways where what really motivated us was our desire to be loved by the white man. Malcolm meant to lance that sense of inferiority. He knew it would be painful. He knew that people could kill you because of it, but he dared to take that risk.
He was saying something over and above that of any other leader of that day, while the other leaders were begging for entry into the house of their oppressor. He was telling you to build your own house.
Well, thank you. We only have a minute to go, but I thought we'd come back after that. We didn't see anything about the Congo, but we'll come back next week. And I'd just like to say thank you for tuning in, and I'd like to compliment my wife and the help in the back. And it's very confusing live television, and we're all trying hard to give you the best information. And again, our guests, Graham Weatherspoon and Professor Ngemi. Thank you for coming. All right? Any closing words, gentlemen? If we got, we'll just cut off in 2 minutes.
Well, it seems like the only thing that's changed is the date on the calendar.
Amen. Amen.
Well, I'll just encourage people to do research, to find out. Right. Please find out. Please try to go on your laptop or computer. Use it for something, to get knowledge of what's happening. Why is it that you have a cell phone and people dying about it and you don't know? Thank you very much.
All right.
History is a clock that people use to tell their political and cultural time of day. It is also a compass that people use to find themselves on the map of human geography.
Yes, Dr. Clark.
History tells of people where they have been and what they have been,
yes,
where they are and what they are.
Yes.
Most important, history tells a people where they still must go and what they still must be.
Yes, sir.
The relationship of history to the people is the same as the relationship of a mother to her child.
Yes, sir.
Or access to the cobalt for your aerospace industry, or access to the copper for your automobile industry.
All right, you dealing with the economy, you want the coltan. Man, Congolese people don't eat coltan. Congolese people can't eat gold. Talk to the Congolese people, we're gonna let you get the resources, but for God's sake, stop killing the people, stop letting Rwanda, Uganda, and Joseph Kabila kill with impunity.
The situation in the Congo is not just a Congolese issue, it's not just an African issue, but it's a global issue. It's a worldwide issue. Congo is a part of the second largest rainforest in the world. It's vital to the fight against climate change. If you're concerned about climate change, you should be concerned about Congo. Half of those who have died as a result of the conflict are children under the age of 5. So if you're a child advocate, if you're concerned about children, you ought to be concerned about what's happening in the Congo. If you're concerned about women, if you have a mother, a sister, you ought to be concerned about what's happening in the Congo. If you drive an automobile, or fly in airplanes, or own a cell phone, as a human being, at the very least, you ought to be concerned. You ought to say something. You ought to want to find out why this is happening. You ought to be moved to want to bring an end to it.
Nzambe, apambala biso, benga nzambe, doko bika, benga nzambe, apambala biso, benga nzambe, doko bika, benga nzambe.
8 out of 10 people in Congo are unemployed and live on 30 cents or less per day.
À Kinshasa, 9 filles des rues sur 10 vivent de la prostitution.
For Congolese children, the tragedy is endless. Massacred in their villages by machetes or recruited as child soldiers, hundreds of thousands of children are victims, and many have become murderers.
So as we look at what's taking place, the quickest way to end the conflict in the Congo is global